eyes of the blind. There's no one like you, none like you. Into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, there's none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against?
All right, you guys can be seated. We're going to change things up a little bit. You guys can be seated too. And I get to introduce our guest speaker today. So, as many of you know, we give to what used to be called Life Choice, and now it's Choices Women's Center. And we have the director here today. Her name's Heather, and she's going to share a little bit about Choices and about one of their main fundraisers, which is the Baby Bottle Campaign. Welcome. Does she need this mic?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Heather Sanders, and I am a mom of 7 and a grandmom of 6. And about 4 years ago, I moved here from Baltimore, Maryland, and God intervened in my life and brought me to Choices as the director, which I never saw myself doing, but God himself made it where that was the only direction to go in and showed me exactly where I should be. Choices Women's Center is a Christ-centered ministry. We bring hope to mothers through Jesus. We offer many services to women and to children in our community. We offer free pregnancy tests. In fact, the health department refers pregnancy tests over to us, which I think is just a miracle of God in itself. We offer free ultrasounds, crisis pregnancy counseling, confidential peer support, referrals for women to get the help they need and for children to get the things they need. We offer referral to resources, including adoption, parenting classes. We offer the truth about abortion, what it is and how it affects women in society. We also offer post-abortion support, and we're about to start up a post-abortion support group. And we offer the gospel. We offer salvation and weekly Bible studies to be done at home and reviewed with an advocate every week to anyone who comes to our center if they would like. We have some new things going on as well. We have a support group for parents of teens who are pregnant or teen parents to give them the support they need to love their children and love their grandchild through this, what seems like a crisis, to help them through that. We also offer opportunities for our clients to give back through community service through Christian establishments. We partner with youth groups and schools to bring God's truth about marriage, family, and the sanctity of life. In fact, just this week, I went up to Hillside Academy, and I was able to speak with the children there about how babies are a gift from God and the importance of the sanctity of life and just understanding that life comes from God and only from God, and we need to cherish it. There's many ways that you guys can help us. The number one way is, I'm going to ask everyone in the room, please pray for us. Pray for us daily. We are in a spiritual warfare. We're right on the front lines, dealing with people coming to our front door, praying with them, and sometimes things don't go as we think they should, but we just got to keep praying through it and do all we can do and just follow God's lead. Also, we could always use volunteers. So if you think you might be interested in coming out and becoming part of what we do, there's many different ways. You could be working directly with clients or just helping fill bags of diapers or helping clean and different things. If that's something you think you're interested in, you could set up an appointment and come by and tour our center. We love to have people come over and get to show them what we're doing over there, and also helping us out with fundraisers. We have several fundraisers a year, and we always could use some extra hands with that. And also just attending our fundraisers. We have our cornhole last year. I don't know if we're going to do that for sure this year or not, but every year we have our banquet and our walk for life, and we would love to have any of you come out. The number one way, though, that we raise money for the center is through our baby bottle drive, which I have brought along with me today in the back of the auditorium. As you're leaving today, I would ask you to please pick up an empty baby bottle. And it's just a standard baby bottle that you would feed your baby out of at home. And what you will do with that is fill it with loose change. You can put cash in there. You can put checks in there. Anything God leads your heart. But that alone, and when I first heard that is coming on new as the director, I thought, we raise enough money to run this ministry on pennies and nickels and dimes. We do. Like, that's one of our number one ways that we're raising money. So I'm going to pray that you all take those bottles and fill them up, and you have a little over a month. So Wendy is going to collect them on March 10th and then return them to the center. And once we get them back, we will total them up and make sure we get back to you guys with a total of how much you raised to help us to be able to save lives and to help mamas. Thank you so much for allowing me to come today, guys. Thank you.
We're just getting your exercise in today, so we're going to ask you to stand back up. Alone in my sorrow and dead in my sin, lost without hope with no place to begin. Your love made a way to let mercy come in. When death was arrested and my life began, ash was redeemed, only beauty remained.
washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. Released from my chains, I'm a prisoner no more. My shame was a ransom he faithfully bore. He canceled my debt and he called me his friend. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made me new, now life begins with you. My Savior displayed on a criminal's cross. Darkness rejoiced as though heaven had lost. But then Jesus arose with our freedom in hand. That's when death was arrested and my life began. That's when death was arrested and my life began. Oh, your grace so free washes over me. You have made me new, now life begins with you. It's your endless love pouring down on us. You have made us new, now life begins with you. Oh, we're free, free, forever we're free. Come join the song of all the redeemed. Yes, we're free, free, forever, amen. When death was arrested and my life began. Oh, we're free, free, forever we're free. Come join the song of all the redeemed. Yes, we're free, free, forever, amen. When death was arrested and my life began. When death was arrested and my life began. That's when death was arrested and my life began.
Oh, well, good morning. We are finally here. And what I mean by that is, you know where we're going. We've been talking about this for a couple of months now, and I can tell you that I have never been more terrified, more intimidated, and more excited than a series than I've ever done in 25 years of ministry than I am this series. So if you got a Bible, turn with me to the book of Revelation. It is one of the most, I guess, spookiest, strangest, and I have titled this message series simply Stranger Things. And I worked hard this week on a PowerPoint that I had probably 15 slides, and everything was wonderful and great, and it was perfect, and I was proud of it. And then Thursday night, I forgot to save it. And somehow Thursday night into Friday, my computer shut off. And when I went to turn it back on, it was gone. Everything was gone. So I didn't have time to rebuild that thing, okay? So I'm going to give you some information this morning, and I need you to write some things down. I'll tell you when you can write it down. And there's something up here I have printed off copies of something up here that I printed about 60 of them. And that's why I asked George this morning, how many are here? And I think we're at what, 56, something like that? Is that what he said? So I have enough for everyone to have one, okay? Or you can take one per family, however you want to do it, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I want to start right off the bat and tell you I am not an expert in the book of Revelation, okay? I am not an expert. My name is not David Jeremiah. I am not an expert at this. And I promise you, over the next 14 weeks, that's where we should finish. And there will time where we'll stop and do an Easter message and that kind of thing. But over the next 14 weeks, we are going to dive into this book. There is a pastor friend of mine who is doing this right now, too. They started theirs January 7th, and he's spending a whole year on the book of Revelation. And I'm thinking, I did a year in Acts, and you people now hate the book of Acts. And so I can't do a year in Revelation just because my brain couldn't contain a year of Revelation. So I'm going to cram a year into 14 weeks, okay? I am not an expert. There are going to be things that I Oh no, do we have dead batteries? Okay. Hey, if you missed out online, whatever we just said, we love you. I'm not repeating it. All right, I got green. Hope y'all enjoyed that online. Seeing Ricky stand here as we mess around with the battery. All right, so let me recap the last few minutes. I am not an expert, neither are you, so there's that. All right? And if you got any complaints, send it to jesse.magnus@yahoo.com. Or you can send it to jesse.magnus@hotmail.com. I got them both set up. So you do what you see there, okay? Now, 2 years of studying for this, and I am still just as scared as I was going on, all right, or going into this. But here's something that I figured out. Most people get their theology of Revelation through a book and a series called Left Behind. Anybody ever read it? Anybody ever seen the movie? Okay, that's where we get our theology of what Revelation is all about. And here's what I want to tell you about Left Behind. It is under a genre of books called science fiction. Okay? And the Revelation is not fiction. Okay? Now, I would really like to tell you what I think about the book and the movie of Left Behind, but 65 million people have bought this book. And I'm not one of them, just so we're clear. That should tell you how I feel about the movie and the series Left Behind, okay? If you own it, I'm sorry. Use it as a doorstop. So let me this morning just simply try to lay the groundwork of Revelation, okay? Just an introduction part 1, okay? Because it's probably going to take us 2 weeks to get through the introduction because there's a lot of groundwork that we have to lay right here at the start, okay? So my goal here in this little 14-week series is to unlock the mysteries of Revelation. We're just going to try to unlock it. Whew, he came back. I was worried, Tom. I was worried. I was thinking you're going out the door, but you made it back. I appreciate it. So the book of Revelation is one of the most mysterious / confusing books of all the Bible to us. Okay? But to the target audience that it was writing to, they understood it completely. In the culture of Asia Minor, now again, don't think Asia as in China and that's not what it's talking about. Asia Minor is real talking about the area of Turkey, kind of in that region. And to that area, they understood exactly what John was saying when he wrote this book. Now you're looking at me like, how does anybody understand anything that John said? Well, because it was written to a target audience. And they knew exactly what he was saying. Which to me, as I read it sometimes, I look and go, huh? And now, don't look back at me more holier than thou, because you've read things in Revelation 2 that you thought, what? What did he just say? What was he meaning by that? There is an author, and his name is Gordon Fee. And he wrote this: when turning to the book of Revelation, from the rest of the New Testament, one feels as if he or she were entering a foreign country. Instead of narratives and letters containing plain statements of facts and impressives, one comes to the book full of angels, trumpets, earthquake, beasts, dragons, and bottomless pits. And it leaves you walking away going, huh? If you've ever tried to read the book of Revelation through an American eyes, you will walk away going, What did he just say? Can I tell you 1 Corinthians 2, 9 and 10 say this? You don't have to turn there, but it says, as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. But God has revealed them through the Holy Spirit, for the Spirit searches all things. Yes, the deep things of God. So here's what I want to say right off the bat. When we enter into the book of Revelation, and we enter it through the Spirit of God, not the spirit of man, but when we enter into it in the Spirit of God, you and I can understand what the book is saying. But we try to read it with man eyes, and our goal is to try to predict when the end is coming. We read Revelation as we're looking for a thing to an end. We're looking to say, when is the second coming going to happen? I want to know when. We'll just stop right there and get back to that in a minute. Can I tell you that the revelation of this book can be summed up in one sentence? The revelation that you're looking for, this is why some of you came this morning. The revelation of this book is Jesus is coming back. That's the revelation. He is returning. And when he comes this time, he's not coming in a manger. He's not coming as a babe. He's coming as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He's coming back, but it's a different form. And can I tell you, that's exciting to anyone who is a Christian as they read the book of Revelation. We don't have to fear it. It is written as an encouragement. In its original day, it was written as an encouragement to the Christ followers in that day. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it's also an encouragement to those of us who call ourselves Christ followers today. It's encouraging. Why? Because it's just a reminder Jesus is still on his throne. He's still God. He hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. He's still God. Okay, so background information. There was an author of the book of Revelation. Anybody know who the author is? John. John's the author. Well, he's the one who penned it. Jesus is the author, right? John wrote down this book. Anybody know where he was when he wrote it? Or was he? That's what they say, right? Now, I'm not going to show you this now, but there is a point where John uses the phrase, I was on the island of Patmos. Now, in that sentence, is he saying he wrote it on the island? Or he had the visions when he was on the island? I don't know. I can make an argument for both, okay? But it seems like I was on was almost like a past tense type phrasing. I was on, well, he didn't really make it clear. Was he on the island? Probably. What, did he write it off the island? Probably. I don't know. It's possible. Both are there. It was written during a period of time where there was extreme persecution of Christians. Okay? This is why the book of Revelation is an encouragement. Because it was written in you and I have never experienced anything like the persecution that was going on in the Christians in that time. It was written about 90 years after the birth of Jesus. But it was an extreme persecuting time. It was written before the destruction of Jerusalem, and it's a authentic prophecy concerning the continuing suffering and the persecution of Christians. Doesn't that make you feel good? It was written as an encouragement as the persecution is going to continue, right? That means if it's going to continue, that means you and I are going to face persecution. And you think we're starting to see it now, but we haven't even scratched the surface of what it's really going to look like. So what's the purpose? What's the theme behind Revelation? Lynn, I'm glad you asked. There's a two-parter here. It's to encourage believers to be faithful to Jesus, even in the midst of suffering. And the second one is God is still the sovereign God of the universe. That's the purpose. To encourage that persecution's coming, stand strong. And God's still sovereign. You think that, has God's sovereignty ever changed? Then why do we get so afraid of the book of Revelation? His sovereignty, he's still God. Okay, let me give you a couple of tips, all right? This is a couple of tips to help you understand Revelation. Number one is this. It's the revelation of Jesus Christ, not the devil. It's not a revelation of the beast or the Antichrist. It is a revelation of Jesus, okay? Don't get that mixed up. This is about Jesus. Everything we do is about Jesus. Revelation is number two. Revelation contains a lot of biblical symbolisms. It contains three distinct types of literature: apocalypse, prophecy, and letter. Apocalypse, prophecy, and letter. Now, I'm going to blow your mind with this one, okay? And because this is not something that the church really talks about or even thinks about, okay? When you hear the word apocalypse, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? End times, end of the world. Everything's going to end, right? You've seen Left Behind. That's what you think about. The apocalypse, everything has to end. You want to know the biblical definition of apocalypse? Here's the biblical definition: an uncovering of truth. That's what apocalypse means. The uncovering of truth. It's not a world explodes. Well, when you begin to peel back the layer of truth, it'll feel like the world's exploding, won't it? But that's what apocalypse means. The uncovering of truth. What is Revelation about? The uncovering of truth. Also, read through the entire book of Revelation in one sitting to get the bigger picture. And can I tell you, please don't try to figure everything out. It's hard. You read through the book of Revelation, you get to a point and you're going, what? Just keep reading, okay? Just keep reading. Don't try to figure everything out at one moment, at least until you have a feel for this book, okay? So I want to give you, this is where I really needed my PowerPoint, man, to show you all of this information. There's three different interpretive views of Revelation. The first one is the past. It's about the past. It took place in the first century, and it was during Roman persecution. This prophecy concerned with persecutions of Christians instituted by the beast. This was kind of continued under the Roman Empire, and we called that Babylon. And by the way, Babylon is going to make an appearance in the book of Revelation. Specifically deals with the destruction of the Jewish temple. The second part is historical, or it's past dash future. From the time of the Roman Empire, we've seen symbolisms such as events of the barbarian invasion of Rome, the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, Islam, etc. We can move on and on and on. Did you know, I've heard it said, and you probably have too, that some people think the Pope is the beast or the Antichrist? Like, that's been said, and can I tell you, those people, you're just dead wrong, okay? And then there's futurists, or the future. the future times, kind of the modern left behind. Chapters 6 through 22 are yet future and describe literally and symbolically actual people and events yet to appear on the world scene. So here's what I love about chapter 1 and verse 1. Can I tell you that simply a blessing is available to anyone who will read this book? Look at verse 1. This is a revelation from Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants the events that must soon take place. He sent an angel to present this revelation to his servant John, who faithfully reported everything he saw. This is his report of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ. That means it's a blessing to you and me. Anything and anytime Jesus speaks, it's a blessing. So, if you're taking notes, I want you to write these 3 things down. Here's our big introduction to this book, okay? Number 1, nothing is revealed in Revelation that hasn't already been revealed in the Bible already. I'll say it again. Nothing is revealed in Revelation that hasn't already been revealed in the Bible already. There are more Old Testament references in the book of Revelation than all other 25 books of the New Testament combined. 515 references to the Old Testament in just 404 verses. That means there's more than one reference to the Old Testament per verse in Revelation. That's a lot of back and forth. Revelation, here's what some people will tell you, and I said this to you. This was like nugget number 1, I think, that I told you a month ago, was you cannot pick up the book of Revelation and be reading it in one hand and reading the newspaper of current events in the other. You can't be searching on all of your little end-time prophecy websites and everything else while reading the book of Revelation. What you really need is the book of Revelation and the Old Testament, because they go hand in hand. One guy, I heard him say that if you come to church to hear about the book of Revelation and you don't bring your Old Testament, you might as well just go back home and play golf. And I'm like, I like golf. But I don't think he was talking to me. We must be able to read the both kind of hand in hand, because let's think about it. You ever looked at most of the tribulation trials that are coming our way or coming the way towards the end? Can I tell you they're almost word for word out of the Exodus encounter? Those same plagues that fire, locust, blood, hail, wind, frogs, all those type of things are basically word for word what's coming in the tribulation. They're the same thing. They're nearly word for word. Can I tell you, you can't understand the visions and the dreams in Revelation until you understand the dreams and the visions of Daniel. They go back and forth. We can't understand the new earth and the new temple until we understand the picture of the temple that Ezekiel was describing. Revelation chapter 12 is a story, and we'll get there, is a story of a woman, a child, and a dragon. You can't understand that story until you see Psalm chapter 2 and Matthew chapter 2, which is the birth narrative of Jesus. Wait, you're telling me Revelation chapter 12 goes back to the birth of Jesus? Yes. Yes, I am. Okay, you're not with me. Okay, we'll come back. Can I tell you that Balaam is going to make a cameo appearance in the book of Revelation? So is Jezebel. Revelation 17 and 18 talks about the city of Babylon. Okay, this is going to be your favorite. If it's not your favorite, something's wrong with you in your head, okay? In Genesis chapter 2, it starts with a tree and a garden. In Revelation 22, it ends with a tree and a garden. Now tell me the Bible ain't connected. It starts with the end in mind. Can I tell you, if you've ever had to write a paper, can I tell you the best thing you can do is start with the end in mind? It gets hard to write through a sermon and then try to come up with the end at the end. I always want to start with the end in mind. How do I want to close this? And so did the Bible. A garden, a tree in a garden, and a tree in a garden. Oh, wait a minute. The Gospels also talk about a tree and a garden. I wonder if they mean anything. I wonder if they're trying to paint a picture here. Can I tell you the Bible is intertwined all throughout it? So, nothing is revealed in Revelation that hasn't already been revealed in the Bible. Number 2, Revelation is not written in chronological order. Some of y'all going, what? It's really not. It's not written in chronological order. The question is not what happens next. The question is, what does John see next? Now, you can't read through the book of Revelation and go, this is going to happen first, this is going to happen second, this is going to happen third, this is going to be fourth, this is going to be sixth, this is 114th, and then the end will come. It's not written in chronological order. It's written more into what John saw first and what he was revealed and what Jesus revealed to him first. Okay, let me show you that just really quickly, because some of y'all are going, what do you mean? How do you know it's not? Well, let me show you. Turn over really quickly to Revelation chapter 12. This is going to be verse 4 through 6. Listen to this. Just tell me if this sounds familiar to you. His tail swept away 1/3 of the stars in the sky, and he threw them to the earth. He stood in front of the woman. This is the dragon here. He stood in front of the woman as she was about to give birth, ready to devour her baby as soon as it was born. She gave birth to a son who was to rule all nations with an iron rod. And her child was snatched away from the dragon and was caught up to God and to his throne. Look at verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness where God had prepared a place to take care of her for 1,260 days. Now, you're going, what does that mean? Okay, cool. In chapter 11, and we're going to get there, but in chapter 11, this is where John gets to the point where he says the world is about to end and the witnesses are resurrected. That happened in chapter 11. So why in chapter 12 does he go back to the birth narrative of Jesus? Do you remember when Jesus was born? Not long after he was born, Herod sent out a decree to have all children killed. And a dream came to Mary and Joseph and said, take your kid to Egypt and run. Kind of sounds similar to what we just read in Revelation. Now, that happened, I told you, about 90 years prior to John writing this. In chapter 11, he talks about the end. And then the witness is being resurrected. And then he goes back again. Do you see it's not written chronologically? So we can't ask, how do we know what's going to happen next? Well, it's not for you to know what happens next. So he's writing in this context of revealing that something is going to happen. Can I tell you, throughout the book of Revelation, in 3 different times, John's going to bring you to the end. That means John's going to come, ooh, this is the end. Here's how it's, and then he starts off again and takes you back on another journey. John's got ADD, okay? Because 3 different times he tells you this is how it's going to go, this is the end, and then he takes back off with another story. And you're going, land the plane, John. Stop doing this to me. You're messing with my head, man. Again, this was written in a time where these Christians were being persecuted, as a reminder that God is still on his throne. And yet we spend most of our time in the book of Revelation trying to figure out when the end's going to come. Can I tell you that the book of Acts tells us in chapter 1, and again, I'm not going to reference in that because I don't want you to start throwing things at me because we're talking about the book of Acts. But in the book of Acts, he tells us these things are written not so much for us to completely understand. He even tells us it's not for us to know the end. But what he does tell us in the Acts is he says, it's not for you to know the times, but you will receive power from the Holy Spirit to be my witnesses to the world. Can I tell you, some of you, and again, I'm not making fun, please understand, some people are so passionate about the end times that they're no earthly good. Because we spend so much of our time wondering how it's going to end instead of being the witness that we need to be to the world. So I want to change a question for you, okay? Or let's just say it this way. Stop asking, how does it all finish? Instead, insert this question. How am I going to finish? How am I going to finish? How am I going to finish my race? How am I going to finish my journey? Instead of worrying about, well, how's it going to end? What's going to happen? Can I tell you, however it ends, doesn't change your job as a Christian. Our job is to be the witnesses for him. So how are you going to finish? Okay, number 3. Numbers in the Bible have a deeper meaning. Numbers in the Bible have a deeper meaning. The Hebrew alphabet has 22 letters. Each letter has a number attached to it. This is where I really wanted the PowerPoint. This is what I have printed off for you if you want to have this, okay? You have to look back at this little paper or this little thing called the Gematria. Okay? The Gematria will show you and lay out to you all of the numbers and what each of the Hebrew alphabet, what each one of them mean. I'm only going to show you a few. I'm not going to show you all 22. But the reason there are so many numbers in the Bible is because the Hebrew language back then only had 8,000 Hebrew words. You want to compare that to the English language? Let's go ahead and do that because you asked. The English language has 170,000 words. And then if you go in and start throwing in like Jesse's ghetto language and if you throw in redneckese and stuff like that, there's a lot more in there, okay? What if God wrote the Bible in redneckese? Wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, so 8,000 words compared to 170,000 words. They had to get creative. They had to use numbers in the alphabet to make them make sense. Now to you and I, we're going, oh, what? So I'm going to butcher these, okay? I am not a Hebrew scholar by no means, okay? And so I'm going to give it the best I can, okay? And I know I'm going to get these way wrong. So the letter A is, anybody know what it stands? Anybody look through Hebrew at all? Anybody know what A is? It's is spelled this way, A-L-E-P-H. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Nobody? Bueller? Nobody? Okay, cool. I don't know how to say it either, so we're just going to call it Alf. Alfred, okay? Alf, I don't know. But it means the number beside it is the word 1. Okay? Now, you read that and you go, oh, okay, 1, cool. That's awesome. But when a Hebrew reads that, they see the number 1 there, they see God. Automatically, it goes to God. It also means the beginning. It also means oneness. Why do you think God means oneness? Because God doesn't need anything else to be complete. He's one. So God, it also means oneness. It means unity. So when these people are reading that number, they see the number 1, their brain automatically goes, oh, God. Bet is the second one. Bet means 2. Bet means 2. Now, why 2? Okay, good question, Dale. If you remember, when Moses came down from the mountain and he was carrying how many tablets? 2, okay? He was carrying 2 tablets with the 10 Commandments, right? When God created in the beginning, he created how many people? 2, okay? Do you see why the number is important? So when a Hebrew saw the number 2, they automatically went to the 10 Commandments, the 2 tablets. They went to Adam and Eve. It also means duplicity, and it also means multiplication. Because what did God tell Adam and Eve to do? Okay, so then Gimel is 3. In the Jewish time, in that Hebrew language, when they saw the number 3, they went to 3 fathers. Who are they? Do you remember? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They went to the 3 fathers. New Testament comes along, and they see number 3. What do you think they saw then? They went to the Trinity. So they left the 3 Father and went to the Trinity. Now, do you see how they're still connected? So when a Hebrew reads this and they see the number 3, they're going, oh, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And then it gets converted to the Trinity. Or the 3 pilgrimages or the 3 festivals. There are 3 festivals that a Jew would have to go back to the city for. And so they reminded of those. It's also balance, strength, or revelation. Dalet is number 4. Dalet is the number 4. It is for earth. Now you're going, wait a minute. I thought third rock from the sun was, okay, no. It's earth, okay? You ever heard somebody talk about the 4 corners of the world? Now, some people will tell you that means the earth is flat, but I'll let you figure that out on the internet, okay? You fight that fight all you want. But it also reminds of the 4 winds that you're going to see later in the book of Revelation. It also is reminded of the 4 north, south, east, west, okay? So that when they see 4, that's what they think about. He is 5. 5 reminds them of the 5 books. What are the 5 books? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and what? Oh yeah, Deuteronomy. They're reminded of those 5 books. And so it takes them right back to, oh, this is what he's talking about. Which also means God's grace. Vav is 6. It's also meaning when they see it, they see the term mankind. Why do you think they see the term mankind? Anybody know what day God created man? 6th, right? So it also means mankind. It also means flesh or the flesh. It also means beast, and we'll get back into that in a little bit. And it means man or incompletion. But it also is mankind. Zayin is the number. Okay, we're going to skip that. We'll come back to that one. I don't want to get too far ahead. That one's pretty good. I'm coming back. Lamed is the number 12. The number 12, when they see the number 12, they're reminded of the government through the people. What do I mean by that? How many tribes did God establish? 12. Okay, good. We're on the same page. How many apostles did he have when he first called his disciples? Okay, cool. And then there is those guys they were kind of the New Testament representatives to the church is what those 12 guys were. And so if you put those two together, you have how many? 12 and 12 is what? Which is also the number of the elders in the book of Revelation. Do you see how numbers are important when it comes to God's word? Words and numbers mean more to the Hebrews than they even do in our time. When you see numbers, they mean something. Now back to Zalin. That's number 7. I want you to be careful here because some of you are going to use a word that's not really what it's meaning. But when you think of the word 7, what's the first thing that pops in your head? What have you been taught? It's perfection. And that's the one that's not necessarily correct. It means completion, totality, or wholeness. How many days were there in creation? And he did what on the 7th? Don't forget about the 7th. There's 7 festivals. How many times does he tell you that you are to forgive a person? Mary Magdalene was filled with how many evil spirits? 7. Now, why is that important? Okay, let me tell you why. Mary was filled with 7 demons. He could have said 114. He could have said 10,004. But instead, he said 7. What that means is she was fully consumed by the demons. Now, what I think would be kind of cool is if Jesus kind of pulled them out one at a time. You get out. I want you out. No, now it's time for you. Number 3, go. But instead, he actually heals her, boom. And they all come out. That means she went from being totally consumed to being totally clean. It was completed. He didn't have to pull it out 7 times. He completed it at one time. I wish I had more time, but I'm running out. And I want to finish this part of the introduction. Do you remember when Jesus, what his very first miracle was? What was it? He turned water into wine. This is how we know that Jesus was not Baptist. Because if it had been a Baptist wedding, he'd have turned the wine back into water. Okay? So, sorry. I can see the look on Jessie's face. She hates that joke. I can see it already. Okay, but so that miracle where it wasn't quite his time and his mama comes to him and says, "Hey, son, we've ran out of wine." And Jesus, we know he's not from the South because he said, "Woman, you get backhanded if you say that to my mama." Okay? If I were to look at my mom and go, "Woman," I better duck. Okay? But he says, now listen, that's not the way we read it, it's not an insult, okay? He's not really like being sassy to his mom, okay? He's referring back to what did God call call Eve? Woman, okay? This is what he's referring back to. Woman, okay? It's not my time. And she says, it is your time. Get to this. Now, that miracle of Jesus turning water into wine is not really the miracle of water into wine. It's a miracle of time. Now, some of y'all looking at me like, what? I don't get it. Okay, stay with me. He didn't just change the water into wine. He changed it into the good wine. Okay? He changed it into the good stuff. Now, I don't know what you know about winemaking, but I don't know much about it either. But what I can tell you is it takes time for it to ferment and make the good stuff. But Jesus made it into the good stuff in an instant. It's a miracle of time. But do you remember how many of the purification jugs they brought to him? Do you remember? 6. Mankind. This was a purification where they would pour the water over their hands and cleanse their hands when they go into the temple. And Jesus takes those 6 jars and turns them in to the good wine. If anybody can do a miracle about bending time, it's the man who controls the time, don't you think? And so he takes these 6 jars, mankind, and he makes them something new. And he makes them something better. Are you following me? The mankind, Jesus takes and makes us something better. He takes and makes us something new. And he's getting to all of this. Do you see now? I hope I've given you part 1 of a decoder to really understand not just what Revelation is talking about, but what Jesus is talking about, what the whole Bible is talking about, why you see so many numbers and why they're important. He didn't just throw numbers in because he forgot what he was saying. They just didn't have the word for it. So they had to throw it in. And so this is being taught from generation to generation to generation. And this is what Revelation is revealing to you and me. We need the decoder to be able to understand it. Do you guys remember a movie called The Christmas Story? Do you remember what that little man wanted more than anything in the world for Christmas? He wanted a BB gun. And everybody told him one thing. What was it? You'll shoot your eye out, kid. But do you remember there's a portion in the movie where he signs up, because you hear some on the radio, and it was talking about, like, you can get this decoder ring. And he signed up on this little orphan nanny thing or something, and he gets the decoder ring, and it comes in the mail, and he starts to decode the message. Do you remember what the message revealed? Drink more Ovaltine. Now, some of y'all in here know what Ovaltine is. Some of y'all are going, what? Ask your parents what Ovaltine is. Some of us are very glad that stuff is gone. Drink more Ovaltine. That was a very big disappointment to little man as he's trying, what's it going to be? Really? This is, drink more Ovaltine? But can I tell you, as you and I begin to decode the book of Revelation through our decoder ring, can I tell you, it will not disappoint you? Stay with us. Stay with me through the next 13 weeks. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Are you going to disagree with me? Yes. Can we fight over it? Maybe. But at the end of the day, it simply means Jesus is coming back. He's fighting for you. So as we close down part 1, I want us to I'm going to ask you to do something for me. I'm going to ask you to pray along with me that God would reveal to us through his word what he wants us to see. I don't care. Hear me. And when I know I get asked this all the time when it comes to Revelation, when is the end times? I don't know, and I really don't care. I want to close my journey well. I don't know when it's coming. The Bible tells us that Jesus doesn't even know when it's coming. His Father's in control. What makes you think you're smarter than Jesus? I love all these people. The world's going to end on such and such date. Anytime you hear that freak come on the radio, change the channel. Okay? Change the channel. He don't know. I can tell you a date just to throw it out there and become famous. We don't know. But what we do know, he's coming. And he's fighting for you. There's a song here I want to play at this end. And I want you just now, I don't know if the words are going to be on the screen on this one, so you got to lean in and listen real close. And I want you to hear and listen to the words of this song. It's just a bunch of people sitting around in a studio, nothing fancy, just people listening and singing and worshiping God. And I want you to hear this, and then we'll close it.